welcome. Happy Monday. And today's show, we're going to talk about the keto diet or the ketogenic diet. So please, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. I am happy to answer them. Or if you have any ideas for future episodes, please let me know there as well. So let's talk ketogenic diet. I don't know if you have heard of this diet, but it has become kind of a popular diet. And let's just jump right in. And we're going to make 2 recipes, which I'm very excited about. I already made one of them because it took a little while, and it's actually a little bit, there are components of it similar to the recipe from last week, but different. And then another recipe that is just going to be delicious. So let's talk ketogenic diet. So the ketogenic diet is a super, super, super low carb, high fat diet. And basically what it does is it puts your body in ketosis, which means that your body burns fat instead of carbs in your body. And this is called ketosis because the fat turns into these components called ketones in the liver. And that will then supply your body with energy rather than the energy that we get from carbs and protein. So this can cause, so we're going to talk about the good things and the bad things about the keto diet. I am definitely not here today to be suggesting everybody do the keto diet. Today's episode is more about, let's talk about the keto diet. And the recipes that we're going to do are keto friendly, but it's definitely not a diet that I follow because I do like carbs. But we can talk about the populations that do use it. So that is my little disclaimer that I'm definitely not suggesting everybody do the keto diet. But I'm here to talk about it and answer any questions. So I want to talk a little bit about how it started. It has been used for years as a therapeutic diet for kids with epilepsy. And there are lots of papers and studies out there. I read a particular one. So these are the details about that. So kids with epilepsy in this study were admitted to the hospital for 1 to 2 weeks where they followed this very strict ketogenic diet. And so, we talked, I think it was last week, we talked about how our diets consist of protein, carb, and fat. So these kids' diets, the kids with epilepsy, their diet was 4 to 1. So fat in ratio to carb and protein, that was just put together. So anything that's non-fat, or not a fat. So 4 to 1. So they're eating 4 times as much fat, or consuming 4 times as much fat as they are protein and carb. And they do this in a gradual way. So they take about 3 days to get them up to that ratio. And mostly just because that's so much fat, they're mostly consuming it with olive oil, sesame oil, and canola oil. Some other foods that they have are beef, cheese, broccoli, milk, almonds, and lots of oil. And the outcome, which was pretty amazing, is that 50 to 60% of the kids showed a 50% reduction in their seizures. And then 15 of those kids had complete reduction, or they had no more seizures. So that's pretty cool. And amazing that these seizures can be helped with the help of food or changing their diet. So then these kids went home for 1 to 2, or these kids went home and then they followed this diet for 2 to 3 more years and then found really great results. And then they eventually go back to a normal diet. So that's kind of the background of the ketogenic diet. It was definitely started as a therapeutic diet for these kids with epilepsy, had great results. And then it kind of transformed into the mainstream because it has been used for weight loss. It's been used for people that tend to have to watch their carbohydrates, like people with diabetes. So they find that it has helped with weight loss because the food is so filling, and you tend to eat less and consume fewer calories when you are eating these foods. So let's just talk about what foods are in the keto diet, which then we can move forward. And then I'm going to show you one of the recipes that I made, which is cloud bread. I don't know if you have heard of it or tried it, but I've heard about it for a while, but I've never tried it, and I was really excited to give it a try, and it's delicious. Okay, so the ketogenic diet. And then I'm going to give you an example of like how many grams of fat you're looking at and carbs and protein for the day. But let's talk about the foods in the keto diet first. So basically, it's kind of like the Atkins diet, but healthier. Okay, so things that you avoid when you're on the keto diet are sugar, of course. Anything with sugar. So soda, fruit juices, smoothies with added sugar, sweets, anything like that. Grains and starches, so no wheat, no nothing like quinoa or any grains of any sort. No rice, anything like that. No fruit except small amounts of berries. No beans, no legumes. No root vegetables like potatoes or sweet potatoes or carrots or parsnips or anything like that. No low-fat foods, like no low-fat dairy, because that tends to have a little bit more carb in it. No condiments with sugar, so things like ketchup, anything like that. And no alcohol, which also does have sugars in it. And no sugar-free diet foods, too, with like the sugar-free replacement. So the things you can eat on the diet are meat, fatty fish, eggs, butter, cream, cheese, cream and cheese. You can have cream cheese as well. Nuts and seeds, healthy oils like extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, avocados, and the low-carb veggies like greens and broccoli and cauliflower and onions and garlic and herbs and spices. So it is a fairly clean diet, although it does, compared to like the paleo diet, you are allowed to eat dairy. So that's kind of the big difference between the keto diet and a lot of the other like gluten-free or paleo or AIP diets, anything like that. So that's the big difference, is the dairy. Mostly because it is high in fat, which this diet is also high in fat. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example. Then we can talk about the pros and cons, or some of the positive effects and the negative effects. Then we'll do a recipe. Then we'll talk about both recipes, because that's the most fun. So anyway, so let's say you are having a 2,000 calorie diet, and the standard ketogenic diet is 75% fat, 20% protein, and 5% carb. So that's a very small amount of carb. So a diet, if you're having 2,000 calories, 75% fat would mean that you would eat 166 grams of fat. You would eat 100 grams of protein, and you would eat 25 grams of carb. And so typically the average person will consume like 150 to 250 grams of carbs a day. So 25 grams is pretty drastically lower. And just for a frame of reference, a slice of white bread has 12 grams of carbs, about. An apple has 25 grams. So that would be your daily intake. A banana has 27 grams. So all the other foods that we just talked about that you could eat on the ketogenic diet are little to no carbs. So like the meat, the eggs, nuts and seeds have a little bit, but it's pretty low. Butter and cream. Butter doesn't have any, but cream has a little bit. So it's just a matter of figuring out where you're going to get your carbs. If you want to eat some fruits, like like if you want to eat tomatoes, like a cup of tomatoes has 6 grams of carbs. So you could still eat those, but just being aware of what you're eating them with, I guess. So that is the breakdown. That's the example. I know that some people, I was reading also about another ketogenic diet, and people were eating about 50 grams of carbs, so 50 or less, but I think some people eat 25, so it just kind of depends. So the positives and the negatives. So I think we talked a little bit. Well, let's do negative first, then we can end on positive. I always like that better. So let's see. Oh, hello. So let's see. Some of the negatives that came out of the study with the kids in the epilepsy was that they did find that they could potentially have elevated triglycerides and elevated cholesterol just because they're eating a lot of fat. So that could be a side effect. And also osteopenia, which is the softening of the bones, and kidney stones, because the kidney stones, just because the kidneys are working a little bit extra hard to filter all of this out. Another negative is, this was from a different piece of research, but they say that you could get something called the keto flu when you first start this diet. And the keto flu is things like low energy, low mental function, let's see what else, digestive discomfort. And they say that all these side effects are most likely, some doctors say it might be because you're in carb withdrawal, and other doctors say it maybe because the bacteria in your gut is changing. But I agree with both. I think it's probably also just that you've just done a pretty drastic change from what you were eating before. So that is just, that is a possible side effect. And then another side effect is that during ketosis, like when you're breaking down those ketones, you may have too many ketones. They could build up and make you dehydrated and then make your blood acidic. So that is one possibility. I don't think it happens a whole lot, but that was just something that I read. So the positives of the keto diet we talked about before is the potential weight loss, because you are definitely changing your diet and eating higher calorie things, but also less because it's so filling, because fat and the fat and the protein in the foods is filling. And there have been some studies that say that you may have improved triglycerides and improved HDL cholesterol. So I don't know. Some people say it does. Some people say it doesn't. And it may help people with diabetes because you are restricting your carbs so much, and it helps with weight loss, which also helps with diabetes. And it has been found to possibly help with acne and people with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and also possibly help with diseases of the nervous system like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So definitely, I mean, that's just something I read, but definitely there is some research out there about it. And let's see. So let's talk food. And then if you have any questions, let me know. So that's the keto diet in a nutshell. I'm going to move my chair. So I'm just going to show you. Well, actually, let's make one first, and then I'll show you the other thing that I already made. So we are going to be making Parmesan, everything like the everything bagel, but everything Parmesan crisps. So I got this I have my recipe over here. I got this from the blog called skinnytaste.com, and you can find that on relish.com. Relish has lots of great recipes with a lot of different bloggers. And so this blog is called skinnytaste.com, and it's called Everything Parmesan Crisps. And I'm really excited. I love Parmesan crisps, but I've never put flavoring on top. So I think that's going to be really good. So I took the box grater and I did the side with like the smaller edges. And I shredded Parmesan cheese. And it says to do half a cup. I did, here we go. It's a nice shred. I doubled it because I think that we're really going to like them in our house. And then you take that and you do 2 tablespoons and you spoon that onto a baking sheet, which I will show you as well. You can kind of see in the background right there. 2 tablespoons for each crisp. All right, let's see. All right, I already did a few so I wasn't doing it the whole time. So there we go. Each little circle there is 2 tablespoons of shredded Parmesan cheese. So that's all you do to start. We're going to put this in the oven. The oven is preheated at 400 degrees. So let's put this in. I'm really excited about this. And then we cook it for 3 minutes. So let's set the timer. And then we're going to mix the seasoning together, which I'm very excited about as well. We're going to start with, it says 3/4 of a teaspoon, but I'm going to do 1 whole teaspoon because I doubled the recipe. So, and then I'm not going to put it on all of them because I don't know if my son would like that. So, okay, 1 teaspoon of dried onion flakes. 1 teaspoon of poppy seeds. Here we go. 1 teaspoon of sesame seeds. And then it calls for dried garlic flakes, but I'm just going to use garlic powder. So garlic powder is kind of strong, so I'm just going to do like a sprinkle, just like 1 pinch. And then we'll mix this all up. It totally is going to smell like a bagel shop. I used to work at a bagel store in college, and I feel like it always smelled like the onions. Okay, so there's our seasoning blend. So while those are cooking, they are going to be cooking for another 1.5 minutes. But that's how you can make it at home too. Like put it in, do your seasoning, and then once they come out, we're going to cook them. Okay, yeah, we're going to put the seasoning on them and cook them for 5 more minutes. So I'm very excited about that. The other recipe that I made is cloud bread, which I don't know if you have heard of this. It was popular probably like 3 years ago, and I know that a lot of people talked about it, but I never made it, and I never tried it. But they look like little buns, and they're so light. I was really surprised how light they were, and it reminded me of the meringues, the aquafaba meringues that we made last week, because they're so light, which I understand now why they're called cloud bread. But this is how you make the cloud bread. It's only 4 ingredients. Eggs. You separate the eggs. Looks like cloud cookies. I know. I know, it totally does. Savory cookies. So it's kind of like a bun. So you can like turn one over, put a sandwich filling, and put another one on top, and then eat it like a sandwich. That's what a lot of people do, I think. Or like use it as a dip, or dip it in things too. But you take 4 eggs, you separate them, and then you beat the egg whites with cream of tartar until the stiff peaks form, kind of like the meringues that we did last week. And then in a separate bowl, you beat cream cheese and the egg yolks to be continued. I'm going to go check on these crisps. Okay, this is really exciting. Oh boy, they smell really good. Okay, it looks like melted cheese. Okay, and here we go. Now we're going to sprinkle on the everything bagel or everything, I keep calling it everything bagel. The everything seasoning. Okay. Sprinkle it on top. She said to do, on Skinny Taste, she said to do 3/4 of a teaspoon on each. I'm just going to kind of wing it. Okay. I'll do it on, let's see, on 3 of them so that we can have some plain ones as well. Okay, here we go. All right, oops. Okay, now we're going to put it back in, and it says 5 minutes, but I think I'm just going to do 3 minutes and check on it. Because you never know, and I don't want it to burn. Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, back to the cloud bread. So you take cream cheese, egg yolks, and salt, and you beat that together until it's smooth. And then you fold in the egg whites so it's nice and fluffy. It's like a really nice fluffy batter. I took lots of pictures, and I'm going to post it on Instagram tomorrow. So if you follow me, check it out. My Instagram is at Alli Shircliff, ALLISHIRCLIFF, at Alli Shircliff. Follow me on Instagram. And then, okay, so then you have your cloud bread batter, and then you put it on the baking sheet with the Silpat. I did the Silpat. I did both. I did one with parchment paper, one with the Silpat to see which cooked better, and actually it cooked better on the parchment. And then you make these little rounds, about 4 inches wide, or 4 inches around. And then you bake it, it said 15 to 30 minutes, so I did 20 minutes. And that seemed to be a good amount. And that was it. And then here's the cloud bread. So yeah, you can use it for sandwiches. You can eat it like a cookie. You've got lots of options. But this is like, when I think of keto diet, I think of cloud bread because so many people talk about cloud bread. And it's really easy to make. And you can make nice little sandwiches with it. So I recommend that. You can make veggie sandwich. Or you could put the low-carb veggies on it, like if you're doing keto. If you're not doing keto, you can put anything. But like avocado, greens, you could put meat on it too. So it's a good option. Sounds good to me. Actually, I'm not gonna sit down because I'm gonna open the oven again. So yeah, these are 2 recipes if you're following the diet that you can try, and they're really easy, especially because they have like very minimal ingredients. So let's see. In my research, I also found that there are varying levels of the keto diet too. I found that there were 4 that I found. One was the standard keto diet, which we talked about, with 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carb. And then there is one called the cyclical keto diet, which means you eat higher, or you have carbs on some days. So 5 days you eat keto, and then 2 days you integrate carbs in, and then 5 days keto. So that's one method. And then there's another one called targeted keto diet. And you mostly eat the keto, but then you eat carbs around your workouts. Let's check on these. Looking good, but I'm going to do 2 more minutes. Okay, 2 minutes more. Okay, let's see. I bet they pair well with wine. Oh, hi, Kelly. I agree. I think it's going to be really delicious. And wine o'clock will be later today, so I think we'll try the Parmesan crisps with some wine. Okay. Back to the types of keto diets. So then there's also, the targeted keto diet, you can eat carbs around workouts. And then there's the high protein keto diet, which is a little bit less fat, because if you raise one thing, something else that's lower. So it's 60% fat, 35% protein, and 5% carb. So it has a little bit more protein. The other one has 20%, this one has 35%. So that's something. Hi, Kelly. So the cyclical keto diet, where you eat the 5 days keto, 2 days carb, and then back and forth, and then the targeted keto, where you eat carbs around workouts. Both of those have been used by athletes and bodybuilders. So that's a very specific group of people that does that style. So I think it's also just, you can always just do a different version for yourself. You could add more fruits and vegetables to your diet than what we talked about. So just like any sort of lifestyle or any diet, I think you could always try it and make it your own, or this is typically not something that you need to follow, especially if you like to have beans and whole grains and fruits and vegetables in your diet. But it's something to consider. I may have missed it, but is keto heart healthy? Like, does it cause increased bad cholesterol? Good question, Kelly. Let me check on these crisps. Okay. Oh my goodness. These are going to be good. These are going to be good. I don't know if they look as good on the camera as they do here, because I'm smelling them and they smell really, really good. Okay, so back to your question, Kelly. We just talked about it a little bit, but basically what they say, it's kind of differing pieces of information. The group where they did the keto diet for the kids with epilepsy, some of them did have elevated triglycerides and elevated cholesterol just because it is such a high cholesterol diet. But then there was another research I read where it said it could help with your HDL, which is the good cholesterol, and it could help with triglycerides. So it is a pretty high fat, it's a high fat diet, but it is pretty high in fat and cholesterol. So I think that it may not be something for everybody. I think that having other, integrating things like more fruits and vegetables and beans and whole grains and things that are heart healthy into your diet are also important. So they look delicious. I'm so glad I know how to make Parmesan crisps because they are expensive to buy. Yeah, no kidding. I know they are expensive and they're so easy to make too. I doubled this recipe and I think we're going to go through those pretty quickly tonight. So I might have to make some more. But luckily it's pretty easy to make, especially with this box grater. So the recipe did specify that to not use the big grates, to use the small. Oh yes, thank you for adding the recipe. Yeah, Skinny Taste, everything Parmesan crisps. And any diet or lifestyle, these are going to be great. I mean, I guess if you eat a plant-based diet, you're not going to eat dairy. But if you do eat dairy, they're good. So yeah, after you get them out of the oven, I'm just taking a look. Just let them sit there for a little bit and then use a spatula to get them off and then let them cool and then bite into them. Just like Kelly said, have some wine with them. I think that's going to be really good. We're actually going to have a Caesar salad tonight with that dressing. Last week we did the aquafaba mayonnaise, which is a vegan mayonnaise, and then I made it not vegan, but because I used it to make a Caesar dressing. So we're going to have Caesar salad using our garden greens, and we're going to put the Parmesan crisps on it with chicken. It's going to be delicious. So it is a gluten-free meal. Sometimes we do croutons, but tonight, Parmesan crisps. So anyway, that is it for today. Thank you all for joining me. It has been really fun talking about the keto diet with everybody. We will be back here. I'll be back here next Monday, 4 to 4:30 Pacific time, talking nutrition. Please always send ideas. You can send them on Instagram or in this chat. And thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next week. Have a good one. Let me know if you try these crisps or the cloud bread. I'll post the recipe for the cloud bread too. All right. Talk to you all soon. Bye.